What if I told you the most controversial Ford of the 1950s did not become famous for fins, chrome, or taillights, but for a hidden supercharger under the hood? In 1957, Ford launched a factory supercharged V8 that flipped America's horsepower race on its head. Only months later, the sanctioning body changed the rules, and the program vanished. Today, we break down the parts, the politics, and the myths to explain why this one-year miracle still fuels debates in garages, forums, and auction tents across the country. Before we start, if you enjoy deep dives that mix engineering, history, and real owner perspective, subscribe to Remember That Car and turn on notifications. Your support keeps episodes like this coming. The year is 1957. Detroit is in a straight-line sprint for performance. Chevrolet pushes fuel injection on the small block. It is advanced, expensive, and headline-ready. Ford answers with a different weapon. Not fuel injection, but a factory-installed centrifugal supercharger. The logic behind Ford's plan is simple. Build a supercharged 312 cubic inch wide block for the track, then offer it on the street to meet stock car rules. If you have heard of E-code Fords with dual 4-barrel carburetors, the F-code takes it one step further. The option includes a Paxton McCulloch VR57 centrifugal supercharger, a special Holley 4-barrel, and a conservative factory rating of 300 horsepower. For 1957, that number is big. Ford is not just selling a fast street car. Ford is building a rulebook weapon. Ford's intent shows up in a tiny batch of Phase 1 DF cars. These are stripped for weight, no radio, no heater, built together in a single January run. Think of them as physical proof of Ford's will to win. They are not showroom cruisers, they are homologation stamps. Ford is poised to control the performance conversation in 1957. Then the shock arrives. Here's the headline that powers the legend. In April 1957, NASCAR bans both fuel injection and superchargers. Overnight, Ford's blown strategy loses its reason to exist on America's biggest racing stage. The word banned does not mean illegal on public roads. It means not allowed in competition. Remove the racetrack and the showroom program fades. This is why the factory supercharged F-code becomes a one-year wonder. There is another force at work that same year. The industry signs the AMA resolution. Automakers promise to step back from direct racing promotion and aggressive performance advertising. The stated reason is public safety and rising highway deaths. The practical reason is cost control and a desire to avoid tighter regulation. In that climate, Ford goes quiet. The F-code loses factory momentum. In effect, the car is benched by the same corporate world that created it. If you want more stories from the turning points of American performance, subscribe to Remember That Car now. New episodes drop weekly, and your comments help shape what we research next. At the heart of the F-code sits the Paxton McCulloch VR57. It is a centrifugal supercharger driven off the crank, with a variable ratio drive to manage boost across the rev range. In street calibration, boost targets about 5 pounds per square inch. That is enough to deliver serious mid-range shove without turning the 312 into a hand grenade. The carburetor is a pressure-compatible Holley 4-barrel. The blower box keeps fuel delivery stable under boost so the air-fuel mix reaches each cylinder consistently. The price is real money. Period sources put the supercharger option around $500. In 1957, that is a major add-on. It is the price you pay to move the conversation from fast car to factory-backed weapon. While Ford quotes 300 horsepower for the street, many racers and restorers report that competition setups can push more boost and unlock significantly more power. The point is not just peak. The point is a wide, usable band. Drive it to work. Drive it to the strip. Come home grinning. When people hear supercharged 1957 Ford, most picture the Thunderbird. The F-Bird is the poster child, and it deserves the fame, but the F-code catalog reaches further. Ford offers the option across full-size models. That includes Fairlanes, Customs, and even wagons in a few rare cases. This is where the story gets fun. Imagine a country sedan wagon taking kids to school and groceries home, while a Paxton spins beneath the hood. That is the definition of sleeper. Auction descriptions and surviving paperwork confirm how scarce these builds are. Authenticity is everything. Collectors look for the F engine code in the VIN and for the correct brackets, pulleys, and Paxton identification tags. The rarer the body style, the more important the documentation. In a moment, we will show how one brilliant option in 1957 created another headache in the same year. The fast part was under the hood. The complicated part ate your trunk. Keep watching. The 1957 Ford catalog is full of engineering ambition. The most dramatic example is the retractable hardtop known as Skyliner. It uses multiple electric motors, relays, and a complex sequence of limit switches to fold a full steel roof into the rear compartment. It is a marvel at a car show. It is also demanding to service. If any switch goes out of alignment, the cycle can stop mid-motion, and when the roof is stowed, it swallows most of the trunk. Owners joke that Ford gave them race car power and then charged them luggage space for style. The 1957 Ford lineup is a lesson in balance. A supercharger that was too fast for the rulebook. A roof that was too complex for daily inconvenience. It is peak 1957 in one brochure. Why would NASCAR cut superchargers and fuel injection in 1957? The answer is parity and cost. When factory research and development pushes exotic hardware into stock car racing, the arms race accelerates. The sanctioning body chooses to keep the grid close and budgets sane. The rule forces everyone back to naturally aspirated, carbureted setups. That single line of text erases the competitive advantage of the F code. At about the same time, Ford pulls back from overt factory racing efforts. Without the track and without public promotion, the supercharged option loses oxygen. It has lived fast, now it disappears. Period road tests are limited, but modern owners fill the gap. Their descriptions repeat the same theme. Throttle response is crisp. Mid-range torque feels like a second wind. The blower makes a clean, rising whir that turns into urgency as the revs climb. The car still feels like a 1957 Ford. Big car ride, heavier steering, drum brakes that demand respect. The supercharger adds personality and pace without making the car untamable. Owners also note the realities. Tuning matters. Hose quality matters. Belt alignment matters. Parts are rare and precious. The reward comes every time the blower wakes up and the car surges forward. If you own or dream of owning an F-code Ford, tell us in the comments which body style you would pick and why. Would you go for the classic Thunderbird or a sleeper Fairlane or wagon? We read every comment, and your ideas guide our next research trail on Remember That Car. Myth: the 1957 Fords were banned from street use. Fact: the ban was a NASCAR competition rule. Street cars remained legal. The program faded because its racing purpose disappeared. Myth: only Thunderbirds received the blower. Fact: multiple body styles were eligible in very small numbers. Documentation proves it, including rare, full-size cars and wagons. Myth: the VR57 was just a marketing gimmick. Fact: the Phase 1 DF cars prove how serious Ford was. You do not delete heater and radio unless you're chasing lap times and homologation targets. Myth: these cars always made exactly 300 horsepower. Fact: that was the factory rating for street trim. Competition setups and careful tuning could deliver more. Authenticity is the currency. With such low production, every correct detail counts. The F engine code in the VIN is the first checkpoint. After that, hardware speaks. Correct Paxton unit and brackets. Proper blower box and carb arrangement. Accurate line routing and pulley sizes. Auction houses treat these components like museum pieces. The rarest cars often come with vintage paperwork, dealer invoices, registration history, period photographs. Because production was small and the option was expensive, survivors today are few and valuable. A documented F-code Thunderbird is a prize. A verified big body F-code is a unicorn. The F-Code's lesson is bigger than a single engine option. It shows how rules shape technology. It shows how innovation lives or dies based on context. In the mid-1950s, placing advanced hardware into stock car racing forced rulemakers to decide what counted as stock. NASCAR drew a line that made superchargers and fuel injection out of bounds. The showroom followed, but the urge to innovate never stopped. In the 1960s, displacement and cylinder head design took the lead with engines like the 409, the 427, and the 426 Hemi. Later, rule changes would tackle those waves too. Technology advances, the rulebook responds, the cycle continues. What makes the F-Code unforgettable is not only the hardware, it is the story arc. Engineers chase an edge, marketers promise excitement, racers turn parts into results. Then a rule resets the field and turns a cutting-edge idea into a one-year time capsule. Owners who preserve these cars today are caretakers of that moment. They balance originality with safety. They search for correct fasteners and period tags. They form small communities where knowledge is shared part by part. When a rare VR57 component appears for sale, people celebrate because another car can be completed the right way. In a hobby that loves big numbers and big noise, the quiet work of research and restoration keeps the legend honest. If you are enjoying this kind of carefully researched storytelling, subscribe to Remember That Car and turn on notifications. Drop a like if this episode taught you something new. It helps more enthusiasts find the channel, and it tells us to keep going deep. If you are considering an F-Code purchase or documenting one for a show, here is the short list. Confirm the F-engine code in the VIN. Study the supercharger installation for correctness. Look for Paxton identification, correct brackets, and period routing. Review provenance. Good paperwork increases confidence and value. On the mechanical side, use modern fuel-rated hose and gaskets during service to keep the system safe without compromising authenticity. If the car will see real mileage, keep the cooling system, brakes, and tires at the top of the to-do list. These are 1957 machines. They reward careful preparation. The F-Code lives on in more than collections. It shows up in how we talk about sleepers. It shows up in how people think about technology waves and rule waves. It shows up every time an auction catalog mentions correct blower plumbing, or every time a comment thread debates whether NASCAR should have allowed forced induction to continue. The story also reminds us that excitement and daily life pull in different directions. In the same year Ford gave buyers a supercharger, Ford also gave them a retractable roof that took most of the trunk. That tension between spectacle and practicality is part of the charm of the era. This channel exists to explain why certain cars matter. The F-Code matters because it is precise evidence that innovation moves faster than rules, and that rules can turn innovation into legend. It also matters because it shows how a single model year can define decades of collector interest. When you hear a Paxton spool on a restored F-Bird, you are listening to the sound of a what-if from 1957. What if the ban had not happened? What if forced induction had remained on the oval? What would the 1960s have looked like then? The F-Code keeps that conversation alive. Question of the day: which would you choose for your own garage? A supercharged Thunderbird F-Code that announces itself at every stoplight, or a sleeper F-Code wagon with family room and a secret under the hood? Tell us in the comments and explain your choice. We will highlight the best answers in a future episode. The shocking truth behind the 1957 Ford that ended up banned is not scandal. It is speed. Innovation moved fast. The rulebook moved faster. The F-Code was not outlawed on the street. It was ruled out on the oval. That one decision turned a production option into a one-year legend and left us with some of the most fascinating Fords ever built. Thank you for watching Remember That Car. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss our next investigation. In the next episode, we leave superchargers behind and examine a transmission program that shook a truck brand's reputation and warranty budget down to the last bolt. You will not want to miss it.